Welcome back to another episode of Wild Sports Center, man. As you can see by the title and by the thumbnail, today we're gonna be breaking down the first half. Well, actually, I'm gonna do it two parts. I'm gonna do a first half breakdown. I'm gonna do a second half breakdown. So right now, while I'm checking in with you guys for this one, this is gonna be the first half breakdown, and then once the game over with, I'm gonna do it different one as well. So just checking in from the first half. We're gonna talk about the stat sheets and how both teams look on paper. So you got for total yards, you got the Saints. They have 140 total yards, while the Cardinals have 165. You're looking at passing yards. The Saints have 65 passing yards, while the Cardinals have 115. You're looking at rushing yards. The Saints have 75 rushing yards, while the Cardinals have 50 yards per play. The Saints have 6.1. The Cardinals got 5.2. The Saints have 8 first downs total. The Cardinals have 13 first downs total. The Saints are 2 for 4 on third down. The Cardinals are 3 for 6 on third down. Fourth down, no team has been on fourth down just yet. Total plays, the Saints have 23. The Cardinals got 32. Sacks allowed, the Saints gave up 0 sacks. They was getting the ball out their hand pretty quickly. The Cardinals gave up 3 sacks. Both teams have punted only one time. Penalties, man. The Saints have 8 penalties for 60 yards, and the Cardinals have 4 penalties for 25 yards. 0 fumbles was lost by either team. 0 interceptions was thrown. We actually did throw interceptions. Spencer Rattler did, but thank God they called it back because it was holding on the opposite side of the field. And then for time of possession, the Saints have 12 minutes and 11 seconds, and the Cardinals have 17 minutes and 49 seconds. So they so far have been ahead of us on the time of possession. The thing that's been killing the Saints to me is penalties, man. We have 8 penalties for 60 yards. So for those who may not know, penalty yards classifies as hitting yardage. So hitting yardage is yards after the interception, yards after a fumble, yards on kick return, punt return, or yards being lost or gained because of penalties. And we've been getting penalties. So it's impossible to move forward when you're still going backwards, right? And we have a young quarterback in Spencer Rattler. So you don't want to keep putting him in long yardage situations, putting him in third and longs, putting him in second and longs, and putting that much more pressure and possibly putting more pressure on him than it already is. You want to try to keep him in those manageable situations to where he doesn't get overwhelmed with the situation. And also too, so when you think about, we haven't given up any sacks, right? So for one, getting the ball out your hand quickly is a big thing on that one too. But the main thing too is staying out of long yardage situations. So when the defense is facing third and mediums, third and shorts. So it's a multitude of things that can be done. They can throw the ball offensive wise, or they can run the ball. But when you find yourself in third and longs, more times than not, what you going to do? You're going to have to pass the ball. So now that's when that pass rush can get to you. You know what I mean? So that's one of the things that the Saints have to most definitely clean up. And I know a lot of people are going to say it's open and weak. True enough, I will agree with y'all on that. But you got to understand, 8 penalties for 60 yards for the game might not have been that bad. 8 penalties for 60 yards for a first half is most definitely not good. And to me, it's one of those things that I'm a firm believer in. What you do throughout the week, we'll see on game day. So if you plan on a Sunday, the things that you're doing that Monday, that Tuesday, that Wednesday, that Thursday, that Friday, that Saturday are going to show up on game day. You can't half-ass things throughout the week and then expect to just automatically put it together on game day. That ain't the way that works. The things that you do on game day are the things that was done throughout the week over the course of preparation and preparing for the game. So those penalties most definitely have to be X'd out. But for the most part, man, I will say I'm pretty pleased with the with the way the Saints are looking. Offensively, I'm liking the way I look with how Spencer Rattler is looking. He's looking more calm. He's looking more composed. I would like to see us probably contain Kyler Murray a little bit better on defense. Obviously, you're dealing with a guy like Kyler Murray who's really, really athletic. That's a lot to ask for that end. I know on one play where I think in the red zone where Cam Jordan had kind of missed the tackle on him. I mean, that's a rough ask for a guy that's as big as Cam Jordan going up for a guy that's as shifty as Kyler Murray by him being so short. He's so low to the ground. Sacks allowed. I mean, defensive wise, I'm pretty pleased with what we're doing. You look up, we gave up, one big explosive pass play on a sideline to Marvin Harrison Jr. But Kool-Aid played as good of a defense that you can play in that situation. Honestly, he did. It just was it was a good throw from Kyler Murray's end. So, man, like I say, man, it's a lot to like about what we've seen. We're looking pretty good offensively, looking pretty good at defensively. When they've gotten to the red zone, we've gave up a touchdown. We gave up a field goal. So, I'm okay with that. We get the ball back at halftime. So I kind of understand why Kellen Moore didn't call a timeout and try to make a march down the field just because of the situation we got. And then you don't want to to destroy your younger quarterback's confidence. You want to try to get the ball out of his hands early to where he can see completions, to where he can see and get that rhythm going and build that confidence. You don't want to put him out there in a situation like that. Just like what I was saying too with the third and longs, you want to try to stay off of those as well. So I took some little small notes as the game was going on. And just kind of some things that I was kind of just looking at. So like I say, first quarter, first defensive series, we were able to force a 3-and-out, which is always good. Now on the back end, we also had a 3-and-out on our first offensive series. Like I say, once again, the penalties, man, getting hit with holding penalties, false start penalties, illegal motions. Those are pre-snap penalties that should be eliminated. If you can eliminate pre-snap and post-snap, then you're going to be one of the least penalized teams in the NFL. So that's most definitely something that we have to do. Red zone stops defensively. Like I say, we was able to get those stops to get them to force a third down on one time, and then obviously they scored a touchdown, which was just a good play call in that situation right there. So that was the main thing. Like I say, man, it's just to me the biggest thing we have to do is clean up those penalties and keep Kyler Murray contained, and also to be able to try to stop James Conner. James Conner is a very physical in between the tackle runner. So I seen that a lot, and we're employing a too high shell, too high safety. So we're not trying to give up anything over the top, but what that does hurt at times is the box, because you lessen the box whenever you have a too high safety. That's one of the cons that comes with it. So I hope that we don't have to abandon that and drop a guy down to be able to try to manage to be able to stop the run. But for the most part, man, we've done a good job. And I think just being physical at the point of attack, gap assignments for the most part to kind of clean that up, and just those linebackers playing in sync with the D linemen, I think that'll be able to kind of contain the running game. But like I said, man, I'm going to do a check-in for the first half, which is this one right here. And then I'm also be doing one for the second half. So I'll see y'all after the second half. All right, man. So as you guys know, man, we didn't get a chance to get the win. We didn't get the win to start the season off, which was very disappointing because I think that there were opportunities within the game that we most definitely had to win. Even when I call out the stats from both teams, the team stats, and you just be like, man, like how didn't we win with some of these, by us being leading in some of these categories? I mean, so you look at the total yards, we had 315 total yards. Cardinals had 376. Passing yards, we had 208, and the Cardinals had 130. Rushing yards, we had 107. The Cardinals had 146. Yards per carry, we had 4.6. The Cardinals had 4.5. First downs, we had 29. The Cardinals had 19. Third down, we was 5 for 14 on third down. They was 6 for 13. Fourth down, we was 1 for 2. They were 0. So that tells you that they did a good job at avoiding having to put themselves in situations where they had to go for it on fourth down. Total plays, we had 69. They had 61. Sacks allowed. Like I say, this is another category that we dominated. We had 5 sacks. We got 5 sacks on the Cardinals. All we gave up was 1. You know what I mean? Punts. We both punted 4 times. Penalties. Now this is because so it wasn't no fumbles, no turnovers, pretty much. No fumbles, no interceptions. Time of possession, we had 26 minutes and 14 seconds. They had 33 minutes and 46 seconds. So now we're going to push this to the side and we're going to get the penalties, right? So penalties. And I get it. Everybody's saying this is the first game of the season. There's kinks that you have to iron out. And I get that. I'm not denying that. But the fact that you got guys like the center who's getting hit with 3 false start penalties, right? These are things that are supposed to have been ironed out over the course of the week. If in the game, let's just say, for instance, let's just say you get 7 penalties the first game, and it might total up to like 20-some yards. You know what I mean? That's cool. But for you to have 13 penalties that equaled in 89 yards, and now let me give you guys some game on that too. So it's a thing called hidden yardage. I think I touched on that in the first half recap. So with hidden yardage are yards that you get from punt returns, yards you get from kick returns, yards you get from interceptions, yards you get from fumbles. Those are all things that's what you consider hidden yardage, right? So penalties, yards lost penalties and yards gained penalties. So those are vital calls, man. So just think about, it was one of those plays, I can't remember exactly what play it was, where they called it was a penalty. We had offensive penalty. I don't know if it was holding, false start, illegal shift, or whatever the case may be. But long story short, it put us in a third and long situation, which took away from the possibility of us being able to attempt a field goal, especially with the kicker we got missing, 30-yard kicks. But we would have had an opportunity to put ourselves in a better position, but we get dinged for the penalty, we get moved back, we don't get it, now we got to punt the ball off. So those are the situations that I'm talking about. So you're looking at the Cardinals. The Cardinals had 9 penalties for 54 yards. So, both teams were kind of highly penalized, and obviously, like you say, week one, there's going to be things that both are going to have to iron out, like a lot of pre-snap penalties. But for the most part, man, I'm a firm believer, like I said early on, what you do over the course of the week is what you do game day. So if it comes game day and you're getting hit with the same calls over and over again, that level of importance couldn't have been stressed throughout the course of the week in terms of the preparation leading up into this game. You know what I mean? Those are the things that I'm talking about. And then just for the Saints offensively, man, I just don't see no go-to guys, man. Like, that's my biggest thing. I just do not see no go-to guys. Like, those guys, like I always talk about gotta have it situations, right? When you gotta have a play, when you gotta have a first down, when you need a play to be made, who is the go-to guy? And I just didn't see it. The Cardinals showed that do you take away the deep ball for the Saints, if you can take away that, you'll beat the Saints because you take away the deep ball, right? So if I'm sitting in two high shells, I'm taking away the threat of you being able to attack us vertically down the field. As a defense, if I'm sitting in too high, I'm pretty much saying I'm going to take away anything explosive, and we're going to put y'all underneath. You're going to have to rink and dump just like they did, and we're going to rally, and we're going to come make tackles in open space to be able to minimize gains, right? And even if you are moving the ball, once we get closer to the end zone, the red zone, we can refrain from a lot of that now because the threat of over the top is no longer an issue now because you got the end zone that you have to work with. You see what I'm saying? And they showed you the recipe for that. If you take away what the Saints want to do is throw the ball deep, then you can beat them. So it's just like, I just didn't see nobody who can just attack consistently underneath. I mean, you got a few plays where Olave might have made some underneath catches, but it wasn't consistent. I just didn't see it. And I think the play calling was very timid. I think that obviously you wanted to kind of, gradually push him in there. You didn't want to just throw him in the deep end. But at some point, you got to take the brakes off. You got to take the training wheels off, and you got to allow for him to try to put himself in position to make plays. You know what I mean? And that's something that I just need to see a little bit more of from the Saints. So, I mean, obviously it wasn't that bad of a loss, but I'm just saying, like, it was, to me, that game we were supposed to have won. And that's nothing against the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are a pretty good football team. They got a darn good defense. And that's something else, too, that I feel like that probably was giving Spencer Rattler trouble. Like, I heard the announcers talk about how they have one of the most confusing defense to have to deal with. And you pair confusing defense with a younger guy who hasn't really had a lot of playing time, especially in the National Football League, then, it leads to a lot of timidness. So I can understand it to a certain extent. But at some point, man, I'm a firm believer that you're going to take the training wheels off. But defense looked darn good, man. Defense did good. Like I said, we were able to get 5 sacks. I would have loved for us to reward Cam Jordan with his hard work with being able to come up with 2 crucial sacks. Unfortunately, we didn't. I think Alontae Taylor had another one too. So I would have loved to be able to reward those guys for their efforts, but we just wasn't able to. But as long as the defense play can keep up the level of play that they're doing, I think we're going to be good. We're just going to have to get some plays offensively, and we're going to have to create explosive plays downfield, man. That's the no bottom line. We're going to have to find ways to try to create those big plays downfield because the rinking and dinking, it just ain't going to work, especially when you're going up against physical, fast defenses that rally to the ball. That minimizes a lot of what you can do with potential yards after the catch. You know what I mean? And then, like I say, too, just trying to draw up plays for your playmakers. For the guys we do have, try to play to the strengths. You know what I mean? Like Shaheed, he's explosive, obviously. So, okay, if they're taking down the stuff downfield, let's try to design stuff underneath to be able to get him opportunities in space to make guys miss. Same thing with Kamara, you know what I mean? So I just think that, like I said, we just got to take the training wheels off and kind of be a little bit more broader with our play calling and just trying to, make the most of what we have at home, But, man, that is it for this video, man. If you guys did enjoy this video, do me a big favor, smash that thumbs up button. Also, man, if you're new to the channel, man, make sure you subscribe. When you subscribe, make sure you click that post notification bell. We'll be notified every time I upload, and I'll see y'all in the next video. And by the way, too, I think I'm gonna do it in detail game breakdown too. This is just kind of me just doing a rough draft from me just watching the game one time. But once I go study film, I'm gonna kind of go break down the game and kind of look at some things that we could have done a little bit better and kind of point out some things we did good as well. So like I said, make sure you subscribe and make sure you got that notification bell on. That way you'll be notified every time I drop. And I'll see y'all in the next video.